Understand something. Plain and simple. To me, Abigail was a delicious poison. An intoxicating, overwhelming poison. Yowie wowie! That felt good! Yowie wowie. Let me in.
What's up, everybody? It's a Monday, I think, right? Right? It's a
Yeah.
Monday. Then that means a couple things, but it means that we're back for another episode of Abby's Window. Um, Jodie, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
I think I'm still trying to recover from last night. Um, still trying to recover from everything that we saw last night, and we will definitely be talking about that during this show. So, um, just want to shout out a few people. Thank you all for joining us this evening. We've got Jen Carter, James Chadwick, Butterspark, Rusty Shackelford. What's up? This is
Yay.
this is in the running for longest profile handle. The Texas Star Fan in a Coma,
All right.
saying thank you.
I'm intrigued.
I know, right? um, with the hashtag thank you, Taker. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
We have a Moda alert. What's up,
Woo!
Moda? Robert Morris. Yes, the news is that Alexa Bliss versus Nikki Cross is happening tonight on Raw.
Oh.
Yeah, so it is beginning. It's
Thank you
starting.
for sharing that piece of breaking news with me.
Yeah, I know, man. I know. Steve Walker, what's up? Chris DeZuba, Wrestling Days fan. Timbo869. Let's see who else we've got. Shane Loki. Dave in Real Life. We got
Yay.
Future Wrestling Champion, Rated R Wrestling, John Cena Gamer 0809, and Joey's Adventures. Thank you all for
All
joining us tonight.
right.
Well, nice crowd to start out
Yeah, it's exciting.
tonight. Yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff. So, Jody, first, I think we've got to start here. What were your thoughts last night on the final farewell for The Undertaker?
Well, if you were watching our watch along, someone was cutting onions for sure.
Absolutely.
And I actually I messaged Kyle afterwards and I was like, oh, my heart. And that moment with the hologram of Paul Bearer with the urn, oh,
Oh,
your heart just shattered. Like,
oh,
oh my gosh. And I think the big thing is that everybody was expecting the Fiend to show up, and I know some people in our Facebook group were a little upset that he didn't, and it it was perfect. I think if the Fiend would have showed up, as much as we all wanted it to happen, seeing it unfold the way it did, Taker deserved every single moment of that spotlight, and the Fiend would have just taken it away, and it would have not ruined the moment, but it would have changed the feel of that entire thing. And I think it was perfect, exactly the way they did it. And I said last night too, I'm new to wrestling in the past couple of years, but even growing up as a little kid, I knew who the Undertaker was. And my kids know who the Undertaker is. My 5-year-old was asking me on Saturday to watch old Undertaker matches.
yeah.
And anytime the Undertaker's music comes on, my 2-year-old goes, Undertaker! So,
That's
um,
awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome.
it was perfect the way it was. And he will never be topped or matched ever.
No, 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 you won't. And we're going to get into this discussion. Steve Walker probably sums it up best here. He says, "Let me be honest. I'm glad there was no Fiend attack. It would have pissed me off.
Mhm.
That would have happened as much as I love Bray."
Mhm.
Yeah, and Future Wrestling Champion says, "Yeah, agreed. I don't really want a Fiend Taker face off." MTAZ is joining us as well as Eric Buchanan. He says, "I have arrived." So
Mhm.
let's go a little bit deeper into that and talk about um, the fact that we didn't get a Fiend attack. And I know you said you're glad that we didn't because it would have changed the moment.
Yeah.
I agree, because in that moment, um, this was all about Taker
Mhm.
and his last moment in the sun. And I feel like if you try to, even if it was just a matter of the Fiend showing up and it being an acknowledgement, from Taker, that just takes away from,
Taker.
what last night was all about.
Mhm.
So, I think that the way it was done, and James Chadwick says it was amazing, beautifully done, done perfectly. I agree. Um,
Mhm.
I think that, you know, I think having a moment like we had last night, and I feel bad for Moda because he said, that was taken from him because he was supposed to be in person. And that Moda, I feel for you, man, because I can't even
Oh,
imagine
seeing that in
being
person.
seeing that in person. I
Oh.
mean, it was already bad enough, with someone cutting onions close by. But I just, yeah. Dave in real life says a Fiend attack would have ruined a perfect Taker send off. So
Yep.
glad it didn't happen.
Yep.
Yeah. um yeah, I agree. Moda says Taker did deserve it, but there are still ways to have the Taker Fiend, but they need to do it within the next year, or I don't think it will ever happen. Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't. I don't think it's gonna happen anyway. And it's
okay.
not like we didn't get Taker acknowledging the genius of Bray Wyatt, because he's done that over the past few weeks. All the
Hmm.
interviews that he's done, he's had nothing but amazing things to say about Bray Wyatt and The Fiend. And in a way, he kind of did pass the torch, because he said, you know what? If I had a little bit more gas left in the tank, that'd be what I'd go for, is The
Right.
Fiend versus The Undertaker. So in his own way, without being super public about it, he's had nothing but amazing things to say about Bray, and I take that as his own way of passing the torch.
Absolutely. Absolutely. John Cena Gamer says WWE put a tweet out advertising Alexa versus Nikki, but deleted it quickly after. Um, let's see here. Jesse Callan Corner says, "Hi guys, sorry I'm late. Just finished up watching an interview with The Undertaker where he was taste testing a bunch of hot sauces. It was quite enjoyable." Yes, he
I
was
saw
on Hot
that.
One. Yeah, I watched it, and um, I think my favorite line out of that whole thing um, was, and I wanted to ask a question immediately. I'm mad that Sean didn't ask the question after this, but he tasted one of those um, tasted one of those sauces, and he said it tasted like a yak's ass. And
How do you
I'm
know what a yak's ass tastes like?
like, how close have you been to a yak? And should we even know about the origins of that comment? Because if you know how a yak's ass tastes, then we've got a lot of things
We
to
got some
discuss.
problems.
We got some problems there. Okay, Wrestling Days fan is like um throwing a tantrum almost. Says
Okay.
Jody, since
Mhm.
Taker is retired and he's not wrestling anymore, and Randy versus Edge is the main plan for Mania 37, and Roman is over on SmackDown, probably facing Rock. Could WWE be planning for the Fiend versus Brock?
Mm, I think it's definitely in the future. I think if Brock would have come back at Survivor Series last night. I might feel a little bit differently about it happening soon. But Brock and Bray had the match that never was because Bray got injured. So I definitely can see that happening down the line somewhere because, Bray never got to have that match with him because he got hurt. So, and I think that would be a pretty fantastic match too.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't go the way of Goldberg.
Yeah.
The way that did.
That would be my only fear.
Which, with it being Brock, I kind of could see it going that way. But I don't know. That has the potential to be a really good match if Brock can control his ego.
Yeah. Chris Morris, thank you for joining. Asks, will the Fiend attack Drew tonight?
I don't know. I'm gonna. I don't know how this is gonna play out because obviously you've got Randy involved because they've had some kind of interaction already, but Drew was kind of involved in that too. And then Drew went to have this match with Roman, and we didn't even see Randy last night. So I don't know where this is going to go. It could go down the road of, he's going to use Drew to get to Randy, but he could just go straight for Randy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Obviously,
I don't know.
Everybody's excited for this Randy feud because, and, like we've said before, we want this to be a long, slow burn. And I still don't think the Fiend's going to get his hands on him for a long time.
Right.
It's going to be a while. But when he does, it's going to be because Randy wants it.
Yeah.
That's
Sean
what I'm sticking with.
Okay. Sean Rousset says, I don't see Brock putting over Bray. I agree with that statement. Rusty says, why can't we get the Fiend versus Jeff Hardy? Yes, and triple yes.
I think we will at some point.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's coming. Dave in real life says, I still want a Fiend versus Demon Balor match in the future.
Oh, so do I.
Would love that. That would be, again, another circle being completed. Joey's Adventure says, I think Fiend will be at TLC going 2-on-1 against The Miz and Morrison. Bray didn't threaten Miz with the Fiend for no reason last week.
True.
Very, very true. I saw someone earlier in the chat saying that a rumor was Bray going after Bobby Lashley. Not sure what I feel about that at the moment. Future Wrestling Championship says Wyatt should focus on Jeff Hardy next. Clay Sculptures is in the building. How are you? Let's see here. Eric Buchanan says the closest we got to Brock versus Bray was Brock versus Bray and Harper in a handicap match, but Bray never even got into the ring. I think it was at Roadblock 2015.
I think in the most immediate term, I think we may see some more with The Miz.
Yeah.
But I think it'll evolve in a way that he doesn't want Miz to cash in on Randy because he wants Randy. You know what I mean? Like, Miz is going to fit into this story of him and Randy somehow. I don't necessarily think that he's like focused on The Miz because he wants The Miz. I think he wants to stop The Miz from going after Randy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Yeah. Future Wrestling Champ, just so I can clear this up. He says, no, I said it. Lashley is next to Drew. Meltzer said, okay, I misread that. I was going to say that doesn't make a lot of sense with Bobby, but Jesse Callen says, whatever happens, I don't want Bray to get a mid-card role. I don't think we have that to worry about. I really don't. I think he's too important to the success of Raw to for them to do that. So,
Well, and I
uh,
think that's why he hasn't been on a couple of pay-per-views. I think they're really trying to keep it special.
yeah,
If he shows up on every pay-per-view, you're going to be expecting him on every pay-per-view, and I don't know, it loses for us. It doesn't lose its luster because we love him no matter what. But for the casual fan, I think him showing up every pay-per-view, it would start to lose its luster. And I think they're especially with Bray being so involved in how this storyline and this character, he wants to keep that special as well.
okay, yeah. I agree. I mean, I think I think there's just so much that can happen, which kind of leads me, to a segue here. All right, Jody, if I say I need you to name three people, three possibilities that Bray the Fiend, um, these three people are the possible targets. I know you kind of mentioned a couple, but give me your thoughts on three names that you feel like he can go after next. And maybe we haven't seen a build for it yet, or maybe we've kind of seen some history there. But what are you thinking about three names?
I definitely think Randy. Like I said, I think there's going to be a little bit more between the Miz, and I think Jeff Hardy's on that short list as well.
Mm-hmm.
If
Mm-hmm.
he can get away from Elias.
That's true. That's true. Dave in Real Life says, hope we get a Firefly Funhouse episode tonight so we can get some answers to who he wants to target next. That would be awesome. Very awesome.
Well, and maybe the target isn't for the Fiend next. Alexa's involved now, and maybe it's about her story at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Maybe it goes on a segue and it becomes more about Alexa's story as opposed to the Fiend story, and the Fiend gets a break a little bit.
Yeah, and that leads to this comment by James Chadwick, and I mean, I think this is exactly right. He says they need to treat the Fiend like Taker and keep it as a special attraction.
Yep.
I mean, agreed. I mean, I don't think, obviously, because of the gimmick and everything, and because we love Bray and his storytelling, we want to
see him all the time.
We want to see him all the time. But, think about it from a casual fan or the person that is a WWE fan and not necessarily, a Bray Wyatt fan. They just enjoy the overall product. Then, then it's like, okay, all right, we've seen it enough. And that's even why, like with Taker, and I think we'll probably be drawing a lot of parallels between the two. That's why Taker would take so much time off at times, because he didn't want the character to get stale. So think
about the feud that he had with Bray too. We didn't even see Taker until we didn't actually see him until the day of WrestleMania. Bray built that all up on his own.
Right.
So
exactly.
And the Taker came out when he needed to. He made, he did the video on, I think it was a SmackDown episode where he said, "I'm not dead yet."
Yeah.
And that was in the build up for it, but we didn't actually see Taker until WrestleMania, until they actually had their match. And I think that's what Bray wants to emulate with the Fiend. And I said this last night too. I don't remember if I said it I don't think I said it on the live stream, but maybe, I think I DM'd it to See Wrestling. That's what I did. Maybe the clock of 11:19 and the hat of 1911 wasn't Bray saying that he was going to go after Taker. Maybe it was Bray paying homage to Taker in his own way. Instead of it being an Easter egg saying, "I'm going to go after Taker because that's what I want," it's Bray's way of paying homage to Taker several different ways.
It's kind of a tip of the cap.
Yeah, because
you inspired me.
Yeah, and if you look at the Fiend character, the biggest inspiration I think for that character was the Undertaker. And I mean, obviously, I don't know that because I haven't asked Bray that question, but I would think his biggest inspiration for that character was the Undertaker. So I think that was, the homages to the 1119 and the clock and the hat. I think it's Bray's way of giving a nod to Taker.
Right. No, I like that idea there. Future wrestling champion, actually, when we were talking about potential feuds and opponents, threw out the name Braun Strowman. And Dave in real life says, interesting thought. I'm not sure the Fiend is finished with Braun. What do you think about that as a possibility?
My brain is mush. So they didn't actually have. Yes, they did, but Roman interfered. I mean, it's possible that he's not quite done with Braun yet, because they never really got a one-on-one match without somebody interfering. But I don't know. I kind of feel like Braun's gone off and done his own thing a little bit, but he's really the one that we haven't really seen made a dramatic change. He's changed a little bit. He's gone back to, being the monster and Strowman Express and being a little bit more domineering, but he hasn't really had that drastic Seth Rollins type switch.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen Braun do enough now outside of the Fiend. Oh, Butterspark. Next, the Fiend faces Braun Strowman, the alter ego of Braun. Oh my goodness. James Chadwick is future fantasy booking, which I love it. Fiend versus Cross.
I
I'm
would
telling
love
you
that. I know
that.
Cross would love that too because he's mentioned it on Twitter.
Yeah, yeah, because yeah, I mean that would be amazing. Joey's Adventure says we can't forget about the Fiend versus Retribution. T-Bar did tweet that they are not
He
done
did.
with Bray.
That's true.
So,
But I don't
yeah.
necessarily think that means a feud per se. Maybe we get a match or an attack or something like that, but I don't necessarily think that it means a big feud.
Right.
I think it may just be a one-off.
Yeah. Matt Hendricks saying, I'm not sure if you guys are aware of Nikki versus Alexa. Yeah. We had someone tell us that a little bit earlier, but definitely thank you for that news. Let's see. Sean Rousset says, I want to know if Ali has secrets of the Firefly Funhouse.
Well, if you remember when he was doing the hacker and he showed that big screen of all the people that he had quote unquote secrets about, the Fiend was on that screen.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't necessarily, may not mean that he has secrets about the Firefly Funhouse, but maybe he knows something about the Fiend that we don't know. And maybe that's why Retribution is getting involved.
Yeah.
Maybe Ali thinks he knows the Fiend's weakness.
Yeah. I mean, that is very true. Let me ask you this. What if, okay, so let's play hypotheticals here. Let's say that Ali does have a secret, and by the way, we've got Kevin Correa, Austin 316, Sonny Wolf. Hello to all of you. Let's say that Ali does have something, but it unlocks a little more depth and darkness than we've seen before. What do you think the secrets could be?
I think the big secret everybody wants to know is, does the Fiend have a weakness? Everybody kind of wondered that about Taker. Like, does he have a weakness? Can he be beat? except for the match that we won't name. So I think that's the big secret that everybody wants to know is what is the Fiend's weakness? What really, you've seen a lot of what makes Bray tick in the Firefly Funhouse, but we really haven't seen what makes the Fiend's brain tick. Obviously, you know that it's about revenge and, life is a circle and all of that, but you really haven't gotten inside the Fiend's head a lot.
Gotcha.
Coincidentally, too, I would not mind a feud between the Fiend and Ali. I think that would be pretty awesome.
I do too, and I think
Just
that someone up in the chat, and I'm sorry, it's going pretty fast, but someone said that you could possibly do a mixed tag team with Ali and Reckoning against the Fiend and Alexa. And
yeah, and that's the good thing about adding Alexa into the storyline is
Right.
you open up those possibilities of these mixed tag team matches. You could get the Fiend and Alexa versus Cross and Scarlett.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many more possibilities now.
Yeah. John Cena Gamer asked, do we think we will see a Funhouse tonight?
Yes.
You do think we'll get a Funhouse? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I do.
Let's see here. Eric Harper says, okay, thinking back to Royal Rumble 1994, when Yokozuna had 5 or 6 guys jump Taker, what if someone hires Retribution to do that?
It would be the dumbest move they've ever done.
Well, I mean, given their recent track record.
Not writing wise, I just mean, if you poke the bear, you're gonna get bit.
True. Very true.
You poke the Fiend, you're gonna end up in a mandible claw. So Don't poke the bear. I mean, you'd think that people would have learned that by now. Don't poke the bear, because he'll bite you.
Yeah. Big Boy Dally says, hello, insiders. Just got home from the dentist. Not feeling too good. Well, hopefully you feel better soon. Whatever's going on.
Was it all the food you ate last night?
You know what? I was gonna ask that question.
Did you eat too much? Fun fact about me: I sneeze when I eat too much.
I remember. I remember that happening on a stream one time. I was like, "What is going on over there?"
I ate too much.
Yeah, I mean,
and funny thing, I thought that it would get worse or change in some way when I got pregnant, because things are moving around. No, stayed exactly the same. If I ate too much, and it's not even eating too much. If I drink too much and my stomach gets full because I've drank too much at one time, I'll still start sneezing. It's really it's a really weird, reaction, I guess. So that's my husband always laughs at me so my husband always laughs at me, if I make a big dinner or something, or we go out to eat and I start getting the sniffles, he's like, oh, you need to stop eating, you ate too much.
Elijah Washington says, can Dabba-Kato join Retribution and take on the Fiend? I don't think for his first foray, but Jodie, what do you think about that? Big Dabba-Kato from Raw Underground.
I mean, they got some big guys on Retribution. I think he'd definitely be a good fit. I mean, it's possible. I wouldn't mind seeing that. I'd actually like to see him against. I wonder if we're ever going to see AJ Styles' big guy actually fight.
I believe it's coming. I do think it's coming.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that. Dabba-Kato against that dude.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Because I don't think he's even talked or like.
He did last week.
Did he?
And and AJ said, "You talk," and he was like, "Yeah, you never let me talk." So I think we're gonna start seeing a little more as we go forward. So let's see here. I'm gonna do some rapid fire for you, Jodie. Austin 316 says, Who do you guys think is next for Drew?
I don't think he's done with Randy yet.
You think Drew and Randy still have some meat on that bone?
Yeah, I think Randy's gonna continue to come after him since he took the belt back. But then after that, I don't know. I don't know what's next for Drew. He's such a, he's a dominating force. And it don't really matter who he goes up against. I mean, I could see the Miz getting involved and trying to cash in on him on whoever he's fighting. But I don't really know. What do you think? Who's on the Raw roster that could go toe to toe with Drew?
Honestly,
it's not a very long list.
honestly, I think we'll start to see something happen with Sheamus. Because Sheamus has been like, he tried to get him on Team Raw for Survivor Series. That didn't go well. He brought back all the stuff last week, and now Drew's the champion again. And I'm pretty sure maybe we get something to the effect of, well, I helped you get your mojo back.
Now you gotta help me.
Yeah. Now you owe me kind of.
I'd be okay with that. Sheamus is a big guy, and I think that they would do well together. Yeah.
Yeah, and a former champion. So Matt Hendricks says, Dalbacato will go back to NXT like Arturo Ruiz did. Yes. I saw Arturo get drafted to Raw, and then I saw him on NXT, and it's like, yeah. Yeah, I was like, I don't know about that. Future wrestling champion says Lesnar might return tonight. That's the big surprise. That would be interesting. I mean, there's so much.
This is weird though. Like, I would prefer Lesnar to go on SmackDown.
Really?
Yeah. I really would. Yeah. I really would. Probably just because Paul Heyman is there and Roman is there. So I would love to see Heyman's reaction to Brock Lesnar coming back.
Yeah.
Isn't he still in Canada
though? The last I heard, yes, he was.
So he may not be allowed to enter the country.
It could very well be the case.
Kind of like why Tyson Fury hasn't shown up yet.
Yeah.
Because he's in England or the United Kingdom. I think he's in Scotland.
He might be.
I don't
remember. Butterspark says 4-time champion Sheamus. I don't know how many times he's won it, but he is a former champ, and hey, why not? I think there's a story to tell there. I honestly do. I definitely think there's a story to tell. Let's see here.
There's a backstab to be had.
Yeah, I mean, you don't normally get guys being that nice if there's not some type of big, turn.
Ulterior motive.
Yeah, something's coming. It's being telegraphed pretty well right now. So, Big Boy Dally is thinking about getting some Chinese food tonight. So just throwing that out there. Buff says, anyone notice Bray is undefeated at TLC?
Is he?
I did not know that.
I did not know that either.
Oh, wow.
I think that the best, honestly, the best person for him to go up against at TLC is Jeff Hardy.
That would be crazy, and I'd love it. I'd love every second of it.
Because of how amazing Jeff Hardy is at things like that. I would love to see The Fiend versus Jeff Hardy in a TLC match.
Yeah. Give us that, please. Big Dan, thank you for joining. Says Jodie is right. Brock belongs on SmackDown. As I said on your preview show Friday, a heel Roman versus a face Brock would be intriguing. That would be.
I just want to see Paul Heyman's reaction to Brock coming back, because
Yeah.
Brock's a Heyman guy, so conflict of interest there. Especially if Roman and Brock start to feud, what's Heyman gonna do?
Exactly. Matt Hendricks says, why waste Hardy versus Fiend on a nothing pay-per-view instead of Mania?
I don't think it's big enough for Mania. No offense to Bray or Jeff Hardy, I just don't think it's big enough for Mania. I mean, the match that Bray needs to have at Mania is Randy Orton. I mean, there's no... The only other match that could be big enough for Mania would be Taker or Brock, or that's it, really. Roman.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I love Jeff Hardy, but it's not big enough.
Yeah, I mean, unless they start building something, which, I mean, let me ask you this: do you think we'll get that payoff this year? Well, not this year, but at WrestleMania 37, do you think we'll get that Randy Fiend payoff then? Or do you
If
think
they start to build it up, if they start to do some more building, more than what's already happened, yes. But they've got to make some progress.
Okay. Sonny Wolf asked, do you think Bray will be at ringside for Alexa like Alexa was for Bray?
I think Funhouse Bray could be.
Right.
I think that's a definite possibility.
Right.
I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with that.
Absolutely. Butterspart says WrestleMania big enough for Fiend would be Randy, Taker, Roman, Drew, or Lesnar.
Yep.
So
I mean, because you can't. Anytime you put the Fiend in a match on a pay-per-view, it's either the main. It's got to be the main event or the next one down, the second to the main event, and I just don't think Jeff Hardy versus The Fiend has that caliber for WrestleMania to be either the main event or the number 2.
Yeah.
But you put Roman in it, you put Randy in it, it's your main event.
Right. I still think that we're probably, and this is going to sound crazy, and I think we're still a year off of the payoff between those two. I do. Because
it has to be at Mania, though.
Yeah, that's what I mean, though. I think that I don't think it'll be at 37. I think it'll be at 38. Because I think, and a lot of people are saying this in the chat too, I think Edge is still going to come into play. I think had Edge not been injured, I think it would have been the payoff at 37. But I think because Edge was injured, that story never resolved the way that they wanted it to. So I think there's a possibility, since there's still a lot of meat on that bone, I think that they will, I think that they'll do that this time around. And then for the next Mania, build that up as the huge main event and see what happens there.
I mean, it's definitely possible. The only reason I think it's a little too far away is because they've already started the teasing of it. You know what I mean? Like, they've already had a little bit of a face-off.
Right.
But we haven't seen anything since then. And if this is going to be a really slow burn, sure, I can see that happening.
Yeah.
But it has to be Mania. It's It's the only one that makes sense. It's the only one that makes that story come full circle. And title involved or not, like, it has to be Mania.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for the story to make sense, and and for the circle to be completed, that Bray loves, Mania would be the destination for it. Moda says, "What if the WWE does the following: have the Fiend go after Miz? I know it's not sexy, but solid. Then the Fiend gets the briefcase and gets his revenge with Randy and a title cash in at WrestleMania."
I'd be okay with that. I don't see him getting the briefcase off of the Miz though. Especially since the Miz just got it from Otis with that whole legal thing. I don't really see the briefcase changing hands again. I don't think that when Miz ever does cash it in, I don't think he's going to be successful.
Yeah, you think he's going to join the wrong side of history with that cash? Yeah, okay.
I do.
I got you.
Because even if Randy gets it back, I don't see the Miz beating Randy. You know, I don't see him beating Drew. I don't see him beating Roman. I don't see Roman losing that belt anytime soon. So he's gotta go for the Raw Championship, and it's either Drew or Randy right now, and I just don't see him winning that.
Right.
The odds are not in his favor. He will not win the Hunger Games.
Yeah. Big Dan says the Fiend is Taker's heir apparent as the supernatural character, and Taker said this himself. I don't see Bray and Lesnar being a feud fit. I think we see Orton Fiend at WrestleMania 38 or SummerSlam 2021. Butterspark says WrestleMania 37, Gooker's Revenge. Son of a gobbledygooker.
Son of a gobbledygooker.
The Unbearable says, good evening, all. Good evening to you. Marcus Ryan has joined us. Marcus says, Edge would be a good one. If you want to do that, throw in Beth Phoenix. You can do Edge and Beth versus Fiend and Alexa.
Ooh. I like that.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad. Marcus Ryan says the Fiend is bigger than the belt, in my opinion. Unbearable says the Fiend don't need a belt. Last time they booked themselves into a corner, and it will happen again. Yeah, I mean,
I agree, but if the MO of the Fiend is revenge, and he goes after Randy, it has to be for the belt, because Randy took his belt at WrestleMania. It seems only fair that Bray returns the favor.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll be okay with it if it's not for a belt, because I agree the Fiend doesn't need a belt, and they do write themselves into a corner when he has the belt, because then the hunter becomes the hunted, and it becomes about who wants the belt, not who wants the Fiend. And you know, I'd be totally fine if it wasn't for a belt, but for that story to really come full circle, it's got to be for the belt.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Austin 316 says, I think the Fiend versus Orton could be a reverse WrestleMania 33 storyline at WrestleMania 38. I would love a slow build to that. My question is, and I want to throw this out to the chat, and I want, Jodie, I want you to respond to this too. My question is, are fans going to actually be patient enough for that to happen? Or whenever we see small glimpses, because I guarantee you throughout the next year, if it does happen at 38, we're going to see small little interactions here and there between the Fiend and Randy. In order to keep it fresh, we're going to see those things dropped in here and there. My fear is that this deserves that long build. This deserves a old school build like we used to see, where you get a payoff a year, and you start to build it from where it is, and then a year and a half later you get the payoff. Are fans going to be patient enough for that?
I think hardcore Bray fans will be, because they know how monumental this feud is. So, but the casual fan who enjoy the Fiend, no.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think, in the current climate that we're in with wrestling fans, everyone wants the microwave results.
Yep.
Everyone wants, okay, they interacted last week, the next pay-per-view I want to see it pay off. Stories like this you can't do that way. Period. And it's
It's
not
a marathon, not a sprint.
thank you. Rusty says, I still want the Fiend to show that he just wants to get revenge on Randy, and he's not worried about the belt by burning the belt in front of Randy.
Well, Randy don't have a belt right now.
That's true.
So,
Let's see. Days fan says, poor Randy. He's on a losing streak at WrestleMania. 0-3, right, if he loses to Edge at 37 and loses to the Fiend at 38. 0-5. Hey.
What? How do you know he's going to lose to Edge?
True. That's true. Dave in Real Life says, if you want a Fiend horror movie, then book him against Retribution.
Well, we all want a Fiend horror movie for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely we do.
I want like a Fiend origin horror movie.
Yeah. Oh god, that would be so great.
Because remember all those tweets that Bray was sending that he deleted later on about he was in a mental institution and he was talking about a patient. Like, I want to see that story.
Yeah. Yeah, give us the origins of it. Let's see here. Moda says, well, the Fiend has been feuding with either Drew, Miz, or Randy because anyone other than those three would be a step back instead of taking a step forward as a character. What are your thoughts on that, Jodie?
I mean, that's true. As long, I want him to feud with whoever makes sense to him. If he's got a story to tell, I want to see it.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's with Randy or Joe Schmo. If you got a story to tell me, Bray, I want to see it.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? At this point, if he had a storyline with Titus O'Neil, I'm in for it.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that they could, somehow make that thing work. Rusty says, would the Fiend be a bad guy in a horror movie? Listen, it's just like when we watch Jason and Michael Myers and Freddy Krueger. You find yourself starting to root for them because the kids that they're going after and people that they're going after are so crazy that they kind of deserve what's coming to them. So, you start to root them on.
A little bit of an I know what you did last summer kind of vibe.
Exactly.
Not like he's going, not like Halloween, where he's just going after everybody. I would much rather see it be a calculated, intentional victim hunting. But, I want to see that story. I forget where I read this from, but somebody said it perfectly. I think the Fiend was born out of mental break. And if you look at, especially, because I've worked so much in the area of psych, it's people do, when they have that mental break, they become somebody else. And, I think the Fiend emerged from all of the crap that Bray got along the years and all the times that he was not booked well and that they made him lose all the time, and eventually he just snapped. And I want to see that story. I want to see how Bray got to that point and what made him snap.
Yeah.
Because what if the ultimate goal of the Fiend is Vince McMahon?
And he's correcting all of Vince's mistakes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I mean, Vince is the one that booked Bray back in the day. He's the one that makes all the decisions.
Yeah.
So what if you see him start to go after the McMahon family? He can go after Shane, who makes decisions, goes after Triple H, who makes decisions, goes after Alexa, can go after Stephanie. So
Yeah.
what if the gold medal of this whole story isn't Randy? What if it's Vince McMahon? Vince is the one that made him break.
I mean, what's the payoff with that, though?
Vince gets a mandible claw.
And roll credits and no more Fiend?
Mm-mm.
What would happen after that? Like once he gets through, let's say that that's the case. What happens after he gets his hands on Vince? Is that how we get rid of Vince?
No,
Is that
but you know in old like horror psych movies where I can't even think of an example right now, but like the villain fixes the wrong and like the whole story rewinds and you start over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you go back to, Bray as cult leader Bray. Bray always said
Yeah.
that Wyndham is the key.
Yep.
So if Wyndham is the one that quote unquote had a psychotic break, and this is what brought the Fiend forward, when the Fiend goes and gets his ultimate prize, which is Vince McMahon for causing that mental break, you reset the clock.
Mm.
And then everybody that he attacked goes back to how they were. And then we get Cult Leader Bray return. Or maybe he comes up with a new character and it's Wyndham.
Yeah. Yeah, then we'd have to change the name of this show.
No, it can still be Abby's window because Abby will always be an important role in Bray's life.
Very true. Very true. Dave in real life said, let me start with this one. Rusty's starting some stuff. Says, I'm just going to go ahead and be the one to start this. The Fiend versus Sting. Rusty, don't pull at my heartstrings like that, man.
Well, that's fantasy booking too, and I'm sure if you ask Bray Wyatt himself, that's fantasy booking for him too. I'm sure he would willingly chop off a finger to get that fight.
Yeah. Someone said, Eric Buchanan says, Fiend runs the company after he attacks Vince. Dave in real life says, after seeing Vince last night, he could take a mandible claw.
He sure could. And it's not like they haven't had that tense moment because we've seen it.
Yep.
But the Fiend didn't do anything. They just stared at each other.
Well, Putting You Over, who joins us from Twitch, says he stood face to face with Vince already. Why did he not do it? Why did he not already do it, story wise?
He's biding his time. You can't go for the gold without going through the bronze and the silver first. You can't go for the finish line without running the whole marathon. You can't skip 20 spaces and pass go.
Yeah.
He's got to fix the other stuff first.
Right all the wrongs.
Yep.
Matt Hendricks says Bray is undefeated at TLC. He won in 2013, 2014, and 15 and 19. He missed 2016 for the mumps and 2018 to come up with the Fiend.
He got the mumps?
I did not know that.
I didn't know that either. I didn't even think that was a thing anymore.
I know. John Cena Gamer, and we're going to end with this one. And then I want to ask you if there's any new Bray stuff, which I already know the answer to that. But John Cena Gamer says, I think something will happen during the Nikki versus Alexa match tonight, and we will see the match at TLC. Jesse says, I didn't see it. What was your comment, Jesse? I'm sorry I missed it. Corporate Fiend? Was that it? Was it?
Does that mean he has to wear a suit? Because I'm all down for that.
But as the Fiend.
I'm still all down for that. it's Bray in a suit, mask or not.
There you go. Corporate Fiend for the win. A yowie wowie indeed. Okay, so
I don't know though. I do love those tight pants.
See, I'm not saying anything about that. I can't say anything about that.
You got to have your little moment with the women last night.
Very true. Very true. That's why I'm saying I can't.
I'm allowed to have my little moments too.
Absolutely. Listen,
and I dig the tight pants.
There you go. Matt Hendrick says Fiend's faction should be called the Dark Carnival instead of the Wyatt family.
Ooh,
I like that.
I like that a lot. The Dark Carnival.
Matt, you need
that's like something out of American Horror Story.
I know. You need to copyright that, and then when WWE tries to steal it, charge the crap out of them for that idea, because that's awesome.
No, don't charge the crap out of them. Just say that you get front row tickets to every pay-per-view for the rest of your life. Okay,
that's even better. I like that.
That's fine.
I like that. Okay, Jody, we're gonna close out with Fiend merch. Do we have anything new?
Sure, we do. We have a fanny pack.
There's a fanny
pack. Which Bray himself is excited about it. He retweeted it and said, "Yowie wowie."
There you go.
So there is a Fiend fanny pack.
Now I know where I see my brain is fried.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I liked that name for a reason. It's because it was a faction in WCW. So they already
Darn.
Yes, my brain is mush. And I'm not thinking clear. But yeah, I knew that name kind of connected with me for a reason. But now, yeah, thank you for that, guys, for reminding me of that, because I completely lost that somehow, some way. But yeah, I mean, Dave in real life says, a Fiend bum bag. I'm done. LOL. So Jody, final thoughts from you on what you think will happen tonight on Raw, and do we get an episode of the Funhouse tonight, and do we see him pay tribute to Taker?
No, I don't think we see him pay tribute to Taker, because he did it on Twitter. But I do think we get a Funhouse episode, and I would like to say that he'll be ringside. Funhouse Bray will be ringside for Alexa's match, but we shall see. I would thoroughly enjoy that.
Him being at ringside.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Well, Jody, anything you want to say to the chat before we take off?
You guys are fantastic. Thank you for being dedicated and showing up every week.
Absolutely, guys. I'll say this: I really enjoyed the interaction in the chat tonight. A lot of good facts being thrown out there. A lot of good conversations being thrown out there. And things like this. I mean, talking about Bray Wyatt and this Fiend character brings those things out. So thank you guys so much for being engaged. These shows work so well when all of you are engaged, and it gives us talking points, and it makes it fun for everyone else that's watching the show. So thank you guys so much. We will be back tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time for our Impact Wrestling Watch Along, which is every Tuesday. So come join us. And then we will be back on, well, we have a video that's coming out on Wednesday for an interview that we did with Monique Dupree. So
We're also doing a pretty fun interview tonight. That's going to be.
We are doing
soon.
a great interview tonight, and we'll be getting that out probably early next week. This week we will not be doing a podcast on Thursday night. Listen, I'm going to be in a food coma on Thursday, so we won't be able to do that. So, but we'll be back next week for Abby. So, for Jodie, for Joe in his absence, and Brandy in her absence, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. We'll be back for Abby's next Monday, and if you're an Impact fan, join us tomorrow night, same 7:30. And if you're not an Impact fan and you just want to have a good time, join us for that too, because we have a really good time with Impact. So join us then.
Excuse me.
What do you say, Jodie? We do this again next Monday?
Of course.
All right. This is solved, and that's what we're gonna do. All right, guys. You guys take care. Have a good night. Be safe, and be kind.
Have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
That's right. Have a great Thanksgiving. Take care.